So in this video, I'm just going to be talking about wisdom. Now, first, I just want to preface by saying the Bible says, be not wise in your own eyes. So I'm not wise in my own eyes. That doesn't mean I have no wisdom to share. So what I mean by that is I have wisdom, but not all wisdom. And I recently heard something that said, a little learning is a dangerous thing. Have you ever heard that saying? Well, no, it's not. A little learning is not a dangerous thing. That's the devil's sort of speak and sayings that are designed to keep you quiet when you don't know more than you do. Like, let those who know speak. Because what does that do? It gives him opportunity to create gatekeepers. Let the doctor do the doctoring. Let the farmer do the farming. And it enables him to compartmentalize and divide things and keep things out of your reach and out of their reach. So he's everybody in their box. Stay in your lane. Stay in your area of expertise. When in actuality, that's not the nature of intelligence. The nature of intelligence is such that you can have overlapping principles. So a principle that works in art would also work in farming. And we have excellent example of this from the ancient scholars, the masters, like the master painters, the Michelangelos and the Raphaels and the masters of old. They would have been learned in many different fields. Now somebody might say, yeah, but they were learnedness in many fields. So that they can speak on it. If you're going to let somebody or look to somebody who's in their lane, let's satisfy everybody involved in the discussion. Because they studied lots of different fields. And what did they discover? That they do overlap, such that they would coin phrases like the science of art and the art of science. So it's telling us that there is method that is encompassing our major key method, that there are principles of intelligence that have the same effect in many different fields. So what I'm saying is somebody who is working in one field shouldn't be discounted. Their contribution shouldn't be discounted because they're not the expert of the field they're talking about. It's too easy to discount somebody to keep them quiet if you want to control the listener. You discredit the person exposing the corruption. Because remember, death is corruption, decay, and division. So if it's corruption, decay, and division, it also wants to conceal those three mechanisms. Why? Because the lighter the conscience or the natural wisdom in you will automatically detect the corruption. So they want you to doubt what your conscience is telling you, so that they can sear it, replace it, and misrepresent it back to you. Say, they want you not listening to God's intuition, not listening to God's conscience, not listening from the pool of knowledge of the Most High, and they want you listening to what they refer to as being the marker or the point of attention. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So that it doesn't matter whether a man is a bin man or a doctor, he has something to contribute to medicine. Principally, in principle. What's that? Well, don't harm anybody. The old Hippocratic oath. At least do no harm. That doesn't mean do nothing. I mean, if you don't have anything, excuse me, if you don't have anything to contribute, it might mean do nothing in certain circumstances. You know what I'm saying? Like that man fell off the ladder. Oh, don't touch him. until we ascertain what kind of harm is done to him. No, there are people who are trained in handling that man. So don't just start throwing them around and sitting them up. No, 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 don't touch him. Right? Because we don't know what's happened to his spine. So there are occasions where you have to be alert, and just be careful not to do something that's harmful in trying to do something that's helpful. And this does take learnedness, does take learning. However, you can't completely discount what somebody naturally knows either. You listen to them, you take it on board. And in doing so, you might say, don't touch until we talk this out. Now, if the person's head is bleeding profusely, you do have to touch. So there are certain circumstances where in one circumstance you wouldn't interfere, but in another you're forced to, because your priority is preserve life. Right? So if the man falls off the ladder, falls on a glass bottle, you've got to stop him bleeding out or he's no chance. So you might have to gently turn him over. So you have to assess, and that takes logic. Just because you have intelligence doesn't mean you have good common sense. So when people say, stay in your lane, shh, let the doctor talk. What if the doctor's a liar? What if it's the devil himself? You see the control it gives them then? They keep people out of that area so that they can set up a barrier and do evil deeds behind that barrier. Stay in your lane, stay in your field. You better know what you're talking about and prove to us that you know what you're talking about. And then they can make it much more difficult for people to get to a point of authority in an area or in a field, because at every level of society they're trying to sabotage people that don't join them in their evil and satanic agenda. So the likelihood of somebody getting to that level of learnedness and achievement and accolade and, college certification is largely reduced, because there are entities working against that happening for people who would oppose the evil agenda. So it's sabotage. It's all forms of infiltration and sabotage, subterfuge. It's basically decay, corruption and division. And that's all throughout society from the ground up. And it might sound like a very negative outlook, but it's not. So who do we look to? It's just real. It's just what's happening. So who do we look to? We have to look to God first. We look at the book of Proverbs. And sometimes you could read the book of Proverbs and think, well, I've done those things, but I've still seen harm. And if you go into the book of Psalms, you'll see that. You'll see what appears to be a disconnect. Say, God, I have lived righteously in the land, and they who oppose me, they who offend me, are prospering for their evil. They're living till their old age, Lord. It's almost like they have a bone to pick with God. You know what I mean? It's not quite that, but it's almost that. It's like they're saying, I've lived according to the righteousness. I've lived according to your law. I've lived according to the wisdom that has been imparted to me from the fathers, from the ancestry. Why hasn't this worked out for my good? Still the wicked one oppresses me. Still the wicked grow strong and live to old age and have plenty to give to their offspring and to their next generations. And we live righteously, Lord, and they oppress us, they crush us with ease. They isolate us and persecute us and crush us and prevent us from getting on. Why, O Lord, why do you delay? It's an appeal to him. They're not angry with him. They don't have a bone to pick with him. but they're querying. Why? Why does my obedience not produce this good fruit? You said reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. It's not computing. Why do they get to prosper in the land, God? I've learned to understand why. But there seems to be a disconnect. So the point I'm making is that just because something appears to be wise conduct that should yield good fruit doesn't mean it will, because of the oppressor. Because of the devil. Now, somebody might say, well, is God weaker than Satan, that Satan can oppress God's saints? No, God allows him to do it. Why? Evil must come into the world. It must. And if God can increase your everlasting reward by way of Satan's persecuting you, wouldn't he want to increase it as much as he possibly could? It's not pleasant for you, but isn't it worth it when you consider that you're not even going to remember this world or this life? Isn't it worth to be persecuted? Isn't it worth to be oppressed if that equates to an increased reward forever? Consider that for a moment. If God asked you that question, if he said, are you willing to be persecuted and oppressed so that you can inherit a greater reward in eternity, what would you say? He'd say, maybe he'd say, in this hypothetical, but it's not going to be easy. You're going to suffer. It's going to be tough. Like you're really going to struggle. Would you say, yes, Lord, increase my reward? Remember, that's just a hypothetical. But I'm just sort of reframing. But God knows what you're able for. He knows your capacities. He knows how strong you are. And he won't let anything greater than your strength come against you. Your spiritual strength now, not necessarily your physical strength. He will allow your body to be crushed, to be broke apart, for you to even be killed. But he won't let it break your spirit or your heart or your mind, and that's what's important. He gave us a spirit of strength and of a sound mind. So don't get disheartened whenever you see, I'm doing what I should be doing, and it's just not yielding what it yields other people who aren't Christian when they do it. Why is that? Should God not increase your reward? Should Jesus not increase your reward? So the book of Psalms appears to disagree with the book of Proverbs. Proverbs says, do this and you shall prosper. Do this and you shall not see harm. Do this and you will see harm. Do this and... So we do what it says that we should do so we don't see harm. And what happens? We see harm. Why? From God? No, from the wicked one. But God allows it, yes. My question to you is, should he not increase your reward? Wouldn't you increase the reward of your children by any means possible and available? Because it has eternal implications. This only has temporary ones. And once they're gone forever. So shouldn't God, by the temporary, increase your eternal reward? Shouldn't the baby be developed in the womb to have great physical traits when they're born? Shouldn't the baby be developed in the womb to have great features of beauty? Beauteousness and plentifulness. Shouldn't that be their inheritance when they come out of the womb? Shouldn't that be done in the womb, in the temporary state? Remember that when Christians were being killed by an evil ruler, before the collective as a form of entertainment, people started lining up to be killed. They started joining the lines where people were being slaughtered for the name of Christ. It was being done in public to try and dissuade others from joining the line, but it only made others want to join the line. Why? Because the reality in the air, the smell of death in the air, and the willingness of these people to die was so spiritually potent that a supernatural thing occurs, a spiritual thing occurs. People say, I am ready to die for Christ that I might inherit a greater reward in heaven. I am ready to suffer and die, because they were killing them in horrible ways. And what happened was the Christian said, don't release me. When they said, release the Christians. Why? Because it was having the opposite effect that they intended. So, kill them. We'll dissuade people from joining Christianity by killing the ones that profess Christ. And all it did was add people to the line to be killed. Consider that for a moment. What must be happening in the heart and the mind and the spirit of a person that they will join a line of people who are being killed in hideous ways, and then refuse to be released once the emperor changes his mind. Release them Christians. It's causing more to join the line. Release them. And then they lined up. They said, no, no, no. Why? Because they wanted a greater reward. And they knew that if they're killed for the name of the Lord, their reward will be even greater. So that period, so we as Christians, we begin to look at this world as a form of gestation, like the baby developing in the womb of the woman. It's a form of development, gestation. It's the formation of your deliverance. The reward as a result of it, the delivery from the world. What you are when you come from the womb. What you are when you're in the womb, but in its formative state. In the womb, you are a human being. Out of the womb, you are fully fledged. In the womb, in this world, in this universe, we are human beings. When we come out of the womb, we know not what we will be, but it will be beautiful, such that all will be able to see, they are the sons of God. People will be, whoa, they're the sons of God. Because they will be beautiful. We will be beautiful. I believe that I will be a son of God. We won't be as beautiful as the Lord, but we will be beautiful. Perfectly beautiful. We just won't have the glory of the Lord. But we will have the similitude of his glory. Isn't that amazing? Who should be more beautiful than the Lord? Nobody. He is the Lord. But they will certainly be beautiful. All the brothers, beautiful, sons of God, made in the likeness of the Lord, in his transfigured form, not in his human form, in his transfigured heavenly celestial body form. We will be made in the similitude of that. So all will see, they're the sons of God, for their beauty, because we will be gems in his eternal crown, for we exist for him, for the Lord. So we suffer in this flesh, and like now I could give you a long list of my ailments and infirmities and my groanings and pains, and we could all do that as human beings, but I know that my suffering, especially the demonic torment that I go through, because I go through a considerable amount of it, I know that it will increase my eternal reward. So somebody said, value truth, Mr. M. Value truth and life. Without lies, religion dies. You know what Jesus Christ said about religion? He said the only true religion is to take care of orphans and widows. The word religion only means repetition. Repetition. Religiously, I did that task religiously, means repetitiously. I did it routinely and regularly. So religion just means tradition. That's all it means. And Christianity is not tradition. It's relationship with God and following Jesus out of this world into the eternal heavens. That's what Christianity is. It's not world religion. It's not mindless and pointless tradition. It is actual relationship with God. And that's the first thing that people have to realize about Christianity if they want to truly know it. I value truth and life. My reality and understanding is that truth and life are and is a person. And that person is Jesus Christ, the source of life. All truth comes from him, flows from him, because he is the master of life. So I agree in one aspect of what you say, value truth and life without lies. And you're right, religion does die, it does come to an end. Religion certainly does come to an end. And that's when Christ returns. All religion will die. Because this world will die. You won't even be able to take care of orphans and widows anymore. So that sentence Mr. M said is right. It's actually true. We should value truth and life, but we should know who truth and life is and have a relationship with him. We should deny lies, absolutely, because you can't have truth and lies in your heart. And that's right, religion does die, but Christianity doesn't, because the Word of God is eternal. And Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. However, the current function of Christianity will die, because it will no longer be needed for salvation. This world will pass away, and there will be a new world created. So that sentence is absolutely right. I don't disagree with that sentence, in essence, at all. But it takes a little bit more fleshing out from a Christian perspective. So sometimes what people say is absolutely true, but they don't really fully understand what they're saying, because they haven't removed the lens, the filter that obscures their sight, or they haven't got understanding of the things they're talking about to a degree where they could comprehend fully what that means. And that's perfectly fine, because we all have to start somewhere. So value, truth and life, correct. Without lies, correct. And religion dies, correct. Christianity is not a religion. It is not mindless repetition. Catholicism is not Christianity. Protestantism isn't Christianity. The only Christianity is the truth of the Word of God and obedience to Christ through faith. That's it. Nothing more will get you into heaven. So everything else is mindless religion. It doesn't do what it says on the tin. Islam will not get you into heaven. Judaism will not get you into heaven. Hinduism will not get you into heaven. That's worship of demons, often wrapped up as something else. Pantheistic worldviews, even when they're monotheistic, their practices are pantheistic. Their principles are pantheistic, meaning that there are many gods involved corrupting the processes. Like people praying to saints and praying to Mary, that's pantheistic. You're praying to people who are not gods. You're making demigods. That's idolatry. It's blasphemy. So Catholicism is Satanism wrapped up under a pretense and a camouflage of Christianity. It's crooked, it's wicked, it's twisted. It's a rotten root of a crooked tree. That's all it is. So it'll never bear good fruit. Catholicism is not Christianity. So oftentimes, unfortunately, people have been led to believe that Christianity is bad because they've seen that false varieties calling themselves Christianity are bad. And that has functioned for Satan as a smear campaign. Do you know what a smear campaign is? When you try to give something or somebody a bad name. Well, that's what essentially the devil has tried to do with Catholicism. He wanted it to control the people. It lost its control. People had enough of being raped by priests. And so Catholicism is little followed anymore. But they'll try and build it back up, you know, because the structure is there for them to do so. But you know, they have to try to get people back in the doors, and that's not going to be easy after what they did, after what came to the surface. But Christianity has nothing to do with Catholicism. Catholicism is false. It's pantheism, which means many gods. Monotheism, one God. Now Islam claims to be monotheistic, but the God that they represent is not a just judge. Why? Because they're hoping that their good deeds can outweigh their bad deeds on the day of judgment. That their goods outweigh their bads. So they'll get in sort of on a weighing scales basis. That's not how a good judge works. A good judge must receive payment for the crime committed, or he himself is corrupt. Now, even mercy to a just judge can only be given if the crime is paid for. He can be magnanimous, but he has to be just. Magnanimous meaning somewhat sensitive to the suffering of the criminal, but he has to be just still. He can even be empathic. He can even empathize with the criminal's loss, but he has to be just. So what Islam is teaching is a God who'll accept bribes. Like, oh, but I know I robbed a post office, but I helped grannies across the road all week. Here's 10,000. Can I avoid jail? You know, it's another form of bribery, isn't it? To say, I was good since I robbed the post office. Yeah, but you still robbed the post office. You're still a thief. And we must try you for the crime. We can't try you for your good deeds. We must try you for the crime. And we can't get rid of your crime for doing the things that you should be doing anyway. You should be helping old people across the street. You should be doing those things. They don't absolve you of your crime. And that's the thing. As Christians, we need Jesus to pay for our crime, or we'd all be in hell. So we have to stay humble in this, because we have a rescuer. Dale says, Islam is good religion. Don't talk like that about any religion. Well, Islam is not a good religion. So until you can prove to me that there's such a thing as a good religion, I'm entitled to talk about any religion any way I want, so long as it's not obscene, what I'm saying. So let's understand the freedom of speech and communication. I'm very entitled to talk about any religion. Absolutely, because I'm entitled to look at any faith. How would I become a Muslim if I wanted to? Am I not allowed to reason whether Islam is good or bad? Whether its systems make sense to me or not? Whether they're logical or reasonable? Of course I am. Nobody can tell me that I can't talk about a religion. Nobody can tell me that. I can talk about Christianity. I can talk about Hinduism. I can tell you why Islam is wrong, why Hinduism is wrong, why Catholicism is wrong, why Christianity is right. That is absolutely my right. I'm an intelligent, reasoning human being, and nobody can stifle or strangulate my ability to communicate to others, lest they kill me. And it would take that to stop me. So let's be clear on that. No, I'm not throwing mud. I spoke about Catholicism, I spoke about Islam. I might speak about Judaism. But right now, that's not really the point I'm making. So what I'm saying is that you can comply with what appears to be good form as a Christian. And because of the oppressor, the wicked devil, who uses world religions and tries to create sensitivity about talking about this religion or that religion. You know, people don't really jump to the defense of Catholicism because Catholicism has been shown to be wicked. It's been exposed as wicked. If you need to expose Islam as wicked, they killed many people who refused to convert to Islam. The Islamic faith has a very violent history. So before you call something a good religion, do your research. Now, I don't know if you've heard about Sharia law, but they were killing homosexuals in public. So I think you need to study Islam a bit more before you call it a good religion. And I don't think you will after you've studied it a bit more. Judaism. Why is Judaism in error? Judaism is in error because it does not accept that the Messiah has come. And he has. His name is Jesus Christ. His birth and death and resurrection are all recorded in writings and in local accounts where 500 people saw Jesus resurrected. That's a lot of people to be all lying. 500 people saw Jesus risen from the dead. That would be a lot of people to kind of pay off to lie, wouldn't it? You know, get that 500 people together that we paid to lie. Sure, you'd pay them and they'd still lie. They would still get out whether you paid them or not. So 500 eyewitnesses saw the transfigured Lord Jesus. And that's recorded, both in the Bible and by the peoples of the nations. So Judaism is wrong because Judaism has rejected Christ, the Messiah. Even though they will tell you, oh yeah, the Messiah is coming. Why? Because they follow the first 5 books of the Bible, the Torah it's called, or I think it's the Pentateuch, or the Torah, the first 5 books. That's what they follow. That's their Bible. So they claim that the rest of the Bible has no relevance because the Messiah hasn't come yet. It's like they're trapped in a time capsule. They only got as far as the 5th book of the Bible and then got stuck. Started nodding at the wall. So it's just they lost the plot. So that's why Judaism is not a true faith. So if you're going to reason, if you're open to learning, I recommend that you do actually open up to learning and start reasoning as to what is and what isn't true faith and why. Understand? Like just saying, that's a good religion. You know, like what do you mean good? Like is it good to go around and kill people for not being Muslim? When we should be reaching out to save people from hell? No. If there's a proper faith, or you want to say religion, but Christianity is not really a religion. If you want to have the true faith, or the truth, then surely there are religions that are incorrect. It's not like we can just juggle religions, you know. Ah, Islam's a good one as well. Oh, sure, Judaism's not very bad either. It's not too bad. No, there's either one true faith or they're all wrong. They can't all be right if they differ one from the other, right? So our job as human beings is find the truth. So on your path to finding the truth, you're going to find a whole load of lies. And there's no lack of them in Islam. There's no lack of them in Judaism. There's no lack of them in Catholicism. All you have to do is a little bit of research and you'll find that. So I don't know how long you studied Islam, Dale, but if you think it's a good religion, I don't know what happened. But something didn't go right. So Christianity is the true faith because we have salvation from a just and righteous judge who will punish criminals. And so the only way that we can be reconciled back to him is by faith in his Son who he sent to pay for our crimes in our stead, in our place, as a substitutionary sacrifice. So Jesus said, I lay my life down willingly, no man take it from me. So, I mean, if somebody wants to tell me you can't talk about other religions, you know, if they came at me from any official status or any website or community standards, I would happily see them in court. Happily. Nobody can tell you that you can't talk about other religions or reason why they are incorrect in your view. The devil will try to do that, you know, because he doesn't want people to discern which is the true religion and which is the wrong one. That's why. He doesn't want people to feel confident to point out the ones that are in error and why they're in error, to make it available and obvious to people why Islam is wrong and true Christianity is right. He doesn't want that. Why? Because he's trying to bring Catholicism and Islam and Judaism all together. Why is he trying to do that? Because he wants to bring all the wrong faith systems together because he wants them to submit to his abomination of desolation. And if you've read the book of Revelation in the Holy Bible, it says that the wicked one will raise the abomination of desolation in the temple of God, calling himself God over all idols of worship. And every false faith system has idols of worship, so that they will be brought together to submit to the devil's false god, the one that's representing him in the holy place. Do you understand now? So that's the interest for the devil to say, oh, don't talk bad about Catholicism. It's a good religion. Oh, don't talk bad about Islam. It's a good religion. Oh, don't talk bad about Judaism. That's a good religion. So they're all good religions. But they're all different. You see, that whole coexist movement says, we all worship God, all the different religions. We all worship God, we just do it differently. Who's their God then? Satan. Why? Because Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He never changes. He doesn't have different bodies, he has one. And that body worships him the same, not differently. So yes, Judaism is worshipping the devil. Islam is worshipping the devil. Catholicism is worshipping the devil. Because if you're not truly worshipping God, you're worshipping the devil. And that's why they will all be brought together so to do. That's why the book of Revelation says that. Make sense to you? Because if it's not Christ, it's Satan. So blessings in Jesus' name. Come to true Christianity, read the Bible for yourselves, seek God, ask him for the proper interpretation of the text, and you will be able to discern what is right and what is wrong by God's intuition. Blessings. Have a nice day. Holy kiss.